What got you here won't take you there. Not without growth. This episode is for every sailor who has advanced in rank before advancing in identity. We're naming what nobody tells you before you pin on the next tab.
This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Real stories, zero fluff, battle tested wisdom, straight from the mess to the dead plates. If you're tired of silence, the politicking, and leadership cliches, you're in the right place. Welcome to CultureKeeper.
Welcome back to CultureKeeper, the podcast that bridges the gap between junior sailors and senior leaders. I'm Jessica Hardiman. I want to start today with something that happens in my office more than I'd like to admit. I'm sitting across from a first class vying for chief. They've got a good record, qualifications, some collateral duties, some first class involvement, and I open up their eval. The front is full, and I mean packed. Titles, programs held, watch stations, qualifications, impressive looking. Then I flip to the back. Silence. And I look them in the eye and I say it plainly. All these words on the front of your eval are cool, but there's no documented impact anywhere on the back. That tells me you've been chasing titles, not impact. And the room gets quiet every time because most of them have never heard it put it that plainly. They've been working hard. They've been showing up. They've been collecting roles, signing PQS and attending meetings. And they genuinely believe that makes them ready to lead. But there's a difference between occupying a role and leading in one. In that gap, the space between what your record says and what your sailors actually experienced, that's what today's episode is about. Before we get into the identity piece, I want to make sure we're all reading from the same chart. Because with billet-based advancement now in full swing, the pace of advancement has changed, and so has the pressure. Here's how it works at the junior enlisted level. Right, a rated E3 waits 30 months, and as long as they keep their recommendation for retention, advancement, and stay out of NJP, they automatically advance to E4. No exam required, time-based. Now, once they pin E4, the game changes. They take the rated knowledge exam, right? They got solid eval, and now they're eligible to apply for E5 billets through the BBA marketplace. They compete for real positions, and when they get selected, they advance and report to that billet. The system has real benefits: greater sailor choice, faster progression for those who are ready, better fleet readiness when it works the way it's designed. But here's what the rating knowledge exam doesn't test, what the eval can't measure, and what the detailer can't see from a spreadsheet. Who you are is not the same as what you know. The Navy can test your technical competency, but nobody gives you an exam on whether you're ready to lead people. The gap is yours to close. And most sailors don't even know it exists until they're already in the seat, struggling and wondering why the rank didn't come with the answers. I want to describe something I've seen over and over again. Not one sailor, but a pattern that plays out at commands across the fleet. The new E5 or E6 reports aboard, they're excited. They earned that tab. They went through the process, and that excitement is real and it's deserved. But watch what they're excited about. The rank tab, the pay increase, being in charge. Those are the rewards of advancement. They are not the responsibilities of it. And when the responsibilities land, when a sailor under them struggles, when the chief holds them accountable for the division's output, when they have to have a hard conversation with someone who was their peer last month, that's where the cracks start showing. And instead of getting humble and curious, instead of raising their hand and saying, "Chief, I need some guidance here," they dig in. They get defensive. They lead blindly and hope it works itself out. And while they're doing that, they're already eyeballing the next pay grade. You cannot outrun an identity that hasn't shifted. Rank doesn't solve immaturity. it amplifies it. And that next pay grade will give you more responsibility to mismanage. Now let's talk about how this pattern shows up on paper, because this is where I want to be really specific. When I review a record, I'm looking at more than the front of an eval. I'm looking for evidence of impact. And there are 3 places where I consistently see sailors cosplaying leadership instead of actually doing it. The first place is in watch station qualifications. The record says, PQS qualified, stood to watch, signed off. What I'm looking for, are you the person your leadership trusts at that station? Or did you qualify to fill a watch bill hole? Being at least halfway decent is the minimum expectation of a watchstander. It's the floor. What did you do to take it to the next level? Did you make the watch team better? Did you become the go-to for all special evolutions? Did you mentor other sailors coming up behind you through their qualification? Getting qualified is expected. What you did with it is what matters. The next one, collateral duties. Your record, it says, hey, safety petty officer, MA, works in her suit, CFL or ACFL, held for 18 months. What I'm looking for, what changed while you held it? Is the program stronger? Is participation up? Are there systems in place that will outlast your tenure? Or did the program run on life support while your name sit at the top of the org chart? A title isn't leadership. What did you build with it? And third, the FCPOA, the most wasted platform in the Navy. And this one I need to say plainly because it matters. So the First Class Petty Officer Association is one of the most powerful and most squandered leadership development opportunities in the enlisted Navy. It is a room full of E6 sailors who are either on their way to chief and officer or are the peers and future subordinates of those who will be. It is a ready-made laboratory for peer leadership, culture building, professional development, and organizational management. And in too many commands, it becomes a social committee with dues. The most common line I see is active FCPOA member, participated in 2 fundraisers and raised $800. That's not leadership. That's event coordination. Where is the professional development initiative you ran? Where's the culture shift you led and your peers? Where is the system you built that made your FCPOA stronger after you left it than when you found it? You had a platform to lead your peers, to mentor your junior associations, and you chose fundraisers over formation. And this same logic can be applied to E5s and their Second Class Petty Officer Association, and even at the Junior Enlisted Association level with my E4 and junior, at least getting that intro into leadership opportunities. And the CPOA is not immune to this either. When I review your record, I'm asking one question. What is different because you were there? Not what did you hold? Not what did you pass? Not what did you show up to? What changed? So what does this shift actually look like? Let me give you 3 concrete transitions that separate the sailors who grow into their rank from the ones who wear it like a costume. Shift number 1, from doer to developer. As an E4 and young E5, your value, among other things, is in what you produce. Your hands, your technical skill, your output. You are graded on your performance. As you get to that senior E5 and E6 and above, your value is in what you build in others. You are now graded on your division, your department's performance. If you're still the hardest worker in the room, and your sailors are standing around waiting to be told what to do. You haven't shifted. You're a doer with a title. Real leadership multiplies. It doesn't just perform. So the question to ask yourself, am I developing my sailors or am I just doing the work in front of them? Second shift, from peer to standard bearer. Last month, they were your equals. This month, you're responsible for holding them to a standard. That transition is socially uncomfortable and nobody briefs you on it. Most new supervisors go one of two ways. They go too soft, avoiding the friction to preserve the friendship, or they go too hard, overcompensating with authority to prove they're serious. Neither of those work long term. The shift that actually works is clarity with care. You hold the standard because you respect your sailors enough to expect the best from them. Not because you're performing authority, not because you want to be liked, but because the standard matters and they're worth holding to it. The question to ask yourself, am I holding the standard because it's right? Or am I avoiding the friction because it's easier? And the third shift, from hoping to leading. Hoping it works out is not a leadership strategy, but it is exactly what underdeveloped supervisors do because they don't yet have the tools, the vocabulary, or the humility to ask for help. Leadership requires intentionality. You have to know your sailors. You have to know where they're struggling. You have to have an actual plan for their development, not just their tasking. Presence is not leadership. Proximity is not investment. Intentional, consistent development is. And if you don't know how to build that plan, ask your chief, your LPO, a mentor. That's what they're there for. Asking for guidance is not weakness. It is the first sign that you understand what's actually at stake. And the question to ask yourself, do I have an actual development plan for each of my sailors? Or am I just managing the tasking and hoping they grow? So I want to name something that makes all of this harder than it has to be. New rank comes with new ego. And ego, unchecked and unexamined, is the single biggest enemy of a new leader's growth. The sailors who struggle most after advancement are not the ones who ask for help and get bad advice. They're the ones who won't ask at all, who interpret humility as weakness, who confuse I have the rank with I have the answers. Here's what I know from sitting across from hundreds of sailors at every level of this career. The ones who thrive after early advancement are the ones who walk in saying, I have the rank, now help me earn the identity. They seek out their chief. They ask the uncomfortable questions. They sit in the discomfort of not knowing and let someone who's been there guide them through it. And I will tell you this, as someone who does record reviews consistently throughout the year, when I sit down with a first class and do an honest ladder review, I tell them they need more time, they need to take their growth to the next level, they need to show impact, not just participation. The ones who receive that feedback and act on it, those are your future chiefs. The ones who get defensive and rationalize why their record is actually fine, they come back the next year with the same gaps and wonder why nothing has changed. We cannot get better without honest feedback. And you cannot grow into the identity the next pay grade requires if your ego won't let you admit you're not there yet. All right. So before I close this out, I'm going to give you 3 questions. I want you to write them down, not type them, write them. Put them somewhere so you can see them every morning. These are not trick questions. They are the honest self-assessment that most sailors skip and then wonder why their record doesn't reflect the leader they think they are. Question number 1. What do I know about each of my sailors' career goals right now? Not what's in their service record, what they actually told you in their own words. Question 2. What have I done in the last 30 days specifically to develop one of my sailors? Not task them, develop them. Name something. Question 3. What do I need to learn or get better at in this pay grade before I'm genuinely ready for the next one? Be specific. Be honest. If you can answer all 3 with clarity and confidence, you're doing the work. Keep going. But if you're staring at the page and realizing that you can't, that's not failure. That's your starting point. Do the work here. Do the work here in this pay grade, in this billet. Earn the next identity before you chase the next tab. So I built a free companion worksheet for this episode, the episode 24 identity shift worksheet. It walks you through the identity audit, the resume versus reality self-check, the 3 shifts self-rating, and all 3 challenge questions with write-in space. You cannot do this work in your head. Print it, write it. The link is in the show notes. So BBA and SEM changed the pace of advancement. It did not change the requirement for growth. The Navy can select you for a billet, but it cannot give you the identity to lead it. That part is yours. And the sailors under you, the ones counting on you to know what you're doing, they deserve a leader who earned that identity, not just the rank. What got you here will not take you there without growth. That's not a motivational line. That's a warning. Make the shift. Seek the mentorship. Do the work in the pay grade you're in. Your sailors are watching, and they already know the difference. So, one more thing before I let you go. If you are navigating leadership in a difficult environment, leading under someone who doesn't lead well, or just trying to figure out how to hold the line when the system feels stacked against you, I have a free resource for you. It's called the CultureKeeper Survival Guide. How to lead when the person above you doesn't. It's the guide I wish someone had handed me. Grab it free. The link for that is in the show notes. And if no one has told you today, let me be the first to say, thank you for all that you've done, all that you do, and all that you will do. Until next time, keep the culture. Lead on.
Culture isn't just kept, it's shaped. Every sailor, every day. Keep the culture. Lead on.